everybody, today we're going to talk about intervals. Interval refers to the spatial relationship between two pitches. The name of an interval describes the size and quality of the interval. The size means that how far apart the two notes are vertically on the staff. Before we talk further about different kinds of intervals, let's learn a concept called harmonic and melodic intervals. Harmonic intervals are two notes that are performed simultaneously. Therefore, on the staff, they look like they're stacked. In other words, the upper note is right above the lower note. Melodic intervals are two notes that are performed successively. Therefore, they're written next to each other. Now let's take a look at an example. So the first one on the left is the harmonic interval, and the next one is the melodic. Let's listen to them. First, harmonic interval, then the melodic. Now let's talk about size of intervals. Numerical names are used to describe the size of intervals. By counting the number of note names included in the interval, we know the size. Now this example below shows us basic intervals from the C major scale, the intervals from scale degree 1 to scale degree 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So how do we know the size of the interval? Let's take the CF interval as an example. First, let's count how many note names are involved in the CF. Let's count together. C, D, E, F. 4. So CF is a fourth. Remember that when we read the interval, we don't call CF a 4. We call it a fourth with a TH at the end. So for the intervals I list on the screen, we can call them unison, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and octave. The unison and octave are a little special because we don't call them first or eighths. Now moving on to the quality of intervals. The first quality of interval is called perfect intervals. The word perfect is a modifier that tells us the quality. So perfect intervals include unisons, fourths, fifths, and octaves. Perfect intervals all sound consonant except for the fourth. We'll listen to them later. Let's take the C major scale as an example. In the C major scale or any other major scales, the intervals from a scale degree 1 to scale degree 1, 4, 5, or 8 are perfect intervals. Now let's take a look at these intervals in detail separately. The way to label these intervals should start with the modifier P, followed by the numerical name, which is the number that reflects the size of the interval. So here we have unison, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and octave. Let's listen to them. Unison, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, perfect eighth, or octave. Moving on, another two quality of intervals are major and minor, and these intervals include seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths. Thirds and sixths sound consonant, while seconds and sevenths sound dissonant. Let's still start by looking at the C major scale. The intervals from scale degree 1 to scale degree 2, 3, 6, and 7 are major intervals. So here we have the major second, major third, major sixth, and major seventh. Let's take a listen to these intervals. Major second, major third, major sixth, major seventh. These are the major intervals. Now let's take a look at minor intervals. I'm going to show you minor intervals by turning this major third into a minor third. Basically, we have two ways to do it. First is to lower the upper note a half step down. So we have C and E flat. Or we can raise the lower note a half step up. So we have C sharp and E. You can try to turn the other major intervals here on the screen into minor intervals as a practice. The last part of this presentation is about identifying intervals. So here we have an example, interval F, D flat, or the reverse version, D flat and F. So we're gonna go over these steps together and find out what interval this is. Step 1, identify the size by counting the number of letter names involved. So let's count together. F, G, A, B, C, D. So the size of the interval is a 6. Step 2, determine whether the upper note belongs to the F major scale. We know that F major scale has one accidental, which is B flat. So obviously, D flat does not belong to F major. And then we go to step 3B. Let's see how the accidental helps us to make the adjustment. So let's think that if we don't have a D flat here, if the interval is F and D, then it's a major 6, obviously. So if we add a flat for the D, the flat makes it a half step smaller. So the interval here is a minor 6. Did you get it? Thank you for watching the video, and now you can move on to do the quiz.